What's up, YouTube? My name is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator and host of PowerfulInterviews.com. I am a partner of NationalDiversified.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine. She is a successful businesswoman, the multi-millionaire. Her name is Stacey Tisdale. Stacey Tisdale is the founder of Mind Money Media Incorporated, and she is a financial journalist. Stacey Tisdale is the best-selling author of her phenomenal book, which is called The True Cost of Happiness. In this interview, you're going to hear exclusively how Stacey Tisdale, she breaks down layman's terms about how you can make real money in the stock market, and it doesn't cost you a whole lot of money to get started in the stock market by creating an Acorn app or by creating a Ameritrade account. Also in this interview, Stacey Tisdale, she breaks down layman's terms about how you can create generational wealth for you and your family, and much, much more. So remember, this is not BS information. The right information will change your current situation. Wealthy people, they take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people, they take advice from broke people. So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, successful businesswoman. She is a multi-millionaire. Her name is Stacey Tisdale. This interview, it will change your life. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on. That way you be well informed when I publish more successful audio interviews. So, check it out. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the beautiful Stacey Tisdale to the show.
Arthur, it's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody. This is great.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Stacey, for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about your phenomenal book, The True Cost of Happiness, and about financial literacy and building wealth. I gladly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend go and get your pen and your pad right now. My great friend Stacey Tisdale is going to break down layman's terms about financial literacy, and we're going to talk about her phenomenal book, The True Cost of Happiness. Is that correct, Stacey?
Yes, it is.
Now, what I'd like to know, and can you explain to the listeners in layman's terms, who is the beautiful Stacey Tisdale? How long you been in your powerful industry, and what is your expertise?
Well, Arthur, as you know, I've been a financial journalist for, over 20 years now. And that journey, I've just had the blessing of working with some of the greatest news organizations in the world. My career started at Wall Street Journal Television, where I was a producer for about a few years, and then I went into reporting and anchoring. Wall Street Journal Television turned into CNBC, and I left that post to go to CBS to be the first business correspondent for CBS Market Watch. And I went many wonderful years at CBS doing their morning news shows, their national shows, their local shows, their evening news shows. And after that, I worked at CNN, I've worked at PBS, I've worked at the Today Show, a contributor for Good Morning America. And that journey, I share that with you because what all of that has done is given me a really unique vantage point to see how people relate to money. And I became very disturbed when I saw all of the challenges that people had when it came to creating healthy relationships with money, because few things work as simply as money. Don't spend more than you have. Don't borrow more than you can afford to pay back. But money also, when you look at it, it's a leading cause of depression, a leading cause of anxiety, a leading cause of divorce. So there was clearly a lot more going on than was meeting the surface. And I felt like the financial industry, the financial services industry wasn't quite getting the story right. And I remember I was reporting from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange one day, and for CNN. And my first report was, here's some tips to help you get out of credit card debt. And my very next report was that the average American family has like $15,000 in credit card debt. And I'm like, what is it? Why can't we, myself included, get it straight with money? There's so much information out there. So the journalist in me really wanted to find out what that why was. And I set out on what I had no idea was going to be a 6-year research project into what drives financial behavior. And the more I went into that, the answers that I was looking for was taking me not to financial experts, but much more to psychologists, sociologists, and that nature, because the problem became clear. When we have trouble with money, we go straight to the numbers. I have to earn more. I have to save more. I have to invest more. But the real causes of our financial choices have got absolutely nothing to do with numbers. It's a result of conditioning. And what I identified were the 3 major influences in our finances. And that's, I call them money scripts. You think of scripts as almost an actor follows a script. We blindly follow these money scripts unconsciously. And, those early messages we got about money, those childhood scripts, the way you saw money spent or not, saved or not, communicated about or not, all have the way our brains actually work have a tremendous impact on how you're going to handle money as an adult. There's social messages, all of the messages that our brains get from advertisers about what we must have, how we must live, social messages around gender, social messages around race, culture. Certain groups are good with money, certain groups aren't good with money, certain, women are bad with money, men are good with money, what have you. And the third, how we see ourselves. I don't invest money. People like me don't save, whatever. But all of this conditioning is what really drives our belief system and what you're going to do, what you believe. So what I did was, I had access to just the greatest minds in the world, and I created a methodology for people to see how that conditioning is playing out in them so that they can step outside of it and make choices that are aligned with their real goals and priorities. And my book came out in 2008, and that's right when I started as a contributor on the Today Show. And I think it was the timing was interesting because we were in the throes of a recession. Yet there was a very emotional recession. So I think it was interesting for people to hear money spoken about in this way. And a lot of people watched the Today Show, and the White House contacted me and asked me to create a behavior-based financial education program for the HBCUs.
Wow.
And that's kind of and I did. And soon after that, the Congressional Black Caucus asked me to do similar research in the financial behavior of professional athletes. And all those experiences kind of have made my light bulb went off, where I realized financial education. I don't use the term financial literacy. I think I'm not a fan of that term, but financial education was kind of where my journey had led. And I just had the good fortune to meet former NFL Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott. And I told him what I was passionate about, and he helped me create my Winning Plays financial education program, which teaches elementary through college students how to create healthy relationships with money and also the financial basics. And you can check that out at winningplays.org.
Wow. Stacey, you educate the masses about money, scripts, and financial choices. And that's extremely important if you want to excel to the next level. Now, let's talk about money. Now, I know money is not value. Money is just a facilitator to do transactions. Can you explain to the audience, how would you define money?
I'm not big into labels. So I think I think money is a gift. It's a tremendous gift, and I think its greatest gift is that it mirrors. I actually call it your money mirror. Money can reflect back to you where you are not living in step with your goals and values and where you are. So I think money is a tool, and it's a tool that there's so many different ways out there that can lead you on a very rewarding path of self-inquiry.
Wow. You said money is a gift and money is a tool. So money is a byproduct of the value that you uncover?
No, I think money is a mirror in terms of it's just a store of value. So, for example, I can look at somebody's financial life and tell you a lot about that person. And to me, like, my book is about helping people connect with who they really are at a much deeper place than where we are connecting. And money's a great instrument to help you do that, and should be used in that way. If I value spending time with my family above all else, is that being reflected in my finances? If I value, having enough and giving back, is that being reflected in my finances? Money can show you all of those things, and that's what it should be used for. If I value, treating people well, is that being reflected in my financial choices? And a good example is I'm not taking a political stand here at all, but there's a big national debate on gun control. And people have very, very, very strong opinions about it. And a lot of people were unaware, for example, that their retirement money was going to the gun makers, people who are not in favor of guns. And that, you can go do, there's a campaign stop that Snoop Dogg's involved with, that you can, go to some websites, and you can actually tell your fund manager, this just takes a matter of minutes, not to put any of your 401k money into any of the gun makers, because they get trillions of dollars from 401k money. So again, that's a great example. Are your finances reflecting who you really are? And when they're not, you can make those changes. So money can really show you how to live much more in sync with your real self.
Wow. This is an incredible interview, and I appreciate you coming on my show today, Stacey. Stacey, let's talk about the word entrepreneur. Now, the word entrepreneur means entrepreneur, and it was a Latin word, and it was invented in the 15th century in France. And a gentleman by the name of John Baptist, he invented the word, and over 300 years later, that word still exists, which is entrepreneur. So entre means between, and pondre means to take. So it means to take lower productivity and increase it to higher productivity. Can you explain to the audience, how are you increasing your productivity in your businesses?
How am I increasing my productivity in my business is just the more that I connect with what I want to do. Over the last year, I've spent a lot of time reassessing what I want my company, Mind Money Media, to do. And as I explore different things and trust my instincts, the picture, things kind of unfold around you. So I encourage people to, really identify how they want to make a difference, know what's going on in their market, and, really bring that into their business plan, and then, just really stay connected with that. So how I increase productivity is it's just been more of a focusing thing. I know I create, I'm a behavioral finance expert. What does that mean? It means I, create content. I contribute to different, broadcast shows. I do different projects like the Wealth Wednesdays monthly project I do with Angela Yee. And just making sure that those things are running efficiently and seeing, their intersection, I think is very important. And again, not making sure that you're, acting in a way in your business choices that are in line with who you are and what you really value, and paying attention to what's going on.
Wow. Now, you also appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and you also began your career as a journalistic at Dow & Jones. Can you explain to the audience about those two powerful experiences?
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Well, Wall Street Journal is Dow Jones. That's where my journalism career began, and I was very lucky to start there because I had such great mentors, and I had such, I learned what real journalism is, and the writing skills, the thinking skills, the delivery skills. I started there pretty young, so I was able to do that. The Oprah Winfrey Show, I was really just speaking about women and money and the some of the challenges women have when it comes to confidence around money. And I think when you look at what's happened with women over the last year and things like the Me Too movement, one of the biggest takeaways I've had from that is that the way women see themselves needs some nurturing. Women control the majority of the world's wealth. They control, I believe, over 40% of the world's investable assets. They're going to inherit trillions and trillions of dollars of passed on wealth because they outlive their partners and spouses. And women really do control the world's money. Yet their confidence levels around that, because of that conditioning I was talking about with money scripts, women are not confident. And when I tell women that they control the world's wealth, most of them are surprised instead of really, step and don't really have and need the confidence to step into that economic power. Women could create their own economy instead of looking for outside validation. And this is one of the things that money can help you see. Like you see things, women not negotiate. The world is definitely not designed to support women, particularly financially. That being said, we can't let stereotypes define how we identify ourselves. Like, don't believe the hype and do what you have to do anyway. And, women just have a lot of power, and I work hard to give them the confidence and remind them of that.
I absolutely agree. Women are powerful resources. And I appreciate you coming on my show, Stacey, because the whole premise of my show is to educate entrepreneurs and business leaders on a national, international scale that they can live the life that they truly desire. So they have to be open to these important principles. So I don't like what I see what's on the news, so I create my own news.
Absolutely.
Stacey, can you explain to the audience in your own influential way, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Oh, my goodness. I've received so much great advice. I think my favorite saying, and one that I use often and have the kids who participate in my program say often, is by a spiritual advisor named Muktananda. And it's that you are already perfect. If you don't believe that, it is due to a poverty of your understanding. Get rid of that understanding and you will become rich.
Wow.
I think people forget money, and that's another gift of money. Nothing makes you forget that you were born with everything you need quicker than money. So the way we perceive money. And I think, owning our own perceptions and realizing that the mind is a wonderful servant and a horrible master, and learning how to master our thought, just getting a better understanding of how our brains actually work and how much illusion is out there compared, really to the truth. Money and my journey and the mentors and teachers that have come into my life have thankfully pointed that out, kind of pointed me in that direction.
I love that powerful statement that you just revealed to me and the audience. You said your mind is a wonderful servant. And that's extremely important if you really want to hone in on your skill sets. And your brain is your most powerful asset, but if it's not used correctly, your brain could be your most powerful liability.
I think that the second part of that statement is the more poignant. Your mind is a great servant, but it's a terrible master. And a lot of my work as a behavioral financial expert is to show people how to disidentify with everything that they're thinking, like those perceptions that women might have. Women have been conditioned since the beginning of time that they're not good with money, and that they are, and women value themselves by how they nurture. Men value themselves by how they provide and protect. And what our minds have done, what society has done, is made one good and one bad when it comes to economics. So what I would have, money can really help you identify, what am I telling? What are the messages that I'm telling myself? Are they true? And what are the messages that I need to rewrite if I was living a life that reflected who I am? So that's where you don't want your mind to become your master, and all of the stereotypes you hear, all the limiting beliefs you hear, reminds me actually of what I do think was the best advice I got. And that was actually from my son, who's 13 now, and he was about 10 years old, and he said, "Mommy, you don't have to believe your thoughts." And I think that is that's just our brain's job is, our mind's job is, just to create thoughts, and it doesn't based on conditioning. And just to be able to step away from that and witness it, and not identify with all of the conditioned thinking that we do, and know that there's much more to us than that. There's much, much more to us than what our minds tell us, and then what the world often reflects back to us.
That is absolutely true. Your thoughts controls your actions, and your brain can be your worst enemy. It actually talk you out of what you should be doing, and you should be doing, but you don't do it. And I think that our brains actually get comfortable with being comfortable, but people had to adopt the mindsets of you have to be uncomfortable with being comfortable.
Well, I think we just have to realize there's so much more to us than our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a much deeper aspect. I always use Black women entrepreneurs are a great example. One of my heroes is Maggie Lena Walker, who in 1902 became the first female bank president. And she's also a Black woman. And she was a great entrepreneur, journalist. And when referring to Black women, she said, Black women must bind their might together. They must bind their fists together, and they must make work and business for themselves, because the world, isn't giving them any breaks. So what have Black women become in response to how they're treated in the world? They've become the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the world. They have created businesses in the United States alone. Black women-owned businesses are creating $7.7 billion in payroll. So they taking lemons and making lemonade out of it. No one was giving them anything, so they created it for themselves. That's a testament to resilience. And that's, the story of Black women can remind us that we're all born with these things: resilience, instincts, intuition. They're much higher forms of intelligence than thinking. So that's why, thoughts are very seductive. They captivate our attention, all that stuff. But you have to go beyond thought and beyond, this very limiting conditioning that we have, particularly around money, to connect with your real power. And I'm talking about things like transcendence, resilience, and those are much more powerful and will serve you much better. And then your mind really serves you in terms of it's present and responds to what's in front of you right now. Then for us to, I think we spend a lot of mental energy about how things should be, our perceptions, our conditioning, and what I try to show people is how to get out of that.
You talked about money conditioning. That's extremely important for women as well as men, where you have to get your conditioning right and develop better relationships around money. Now, I know years ago, we actually had the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we owned, from black insurance companies to owning, real estate, commercial real estate. We owned a lot of businesses in that era, but unfortunately, our empire basically got burned down. How do you feel about the Black Wall Street coming back in the 21st century? And can you explain to the audience in your own powerful way, what do billionaires and hecto-millionaires do on a consistent, regular basis that unfortunately broke entrepreneurs just don't do?
Well, most billionaires are billionaires because of inherited wealth. So that's, that's what I'm saying, kind of these labels, what did this people do, that people do. It's kind of getting away from all that. Black wealth is, Black Wall Street never really went away. I mean, it was burned down. But if you look at the financial history of blacks in the United States, it's really an amazing story of resilience. And the black economy really started when President Lincoln freed the slaves, and he realized that he couldn't, give these people money who had been enslaved, who didn't know anything about money. So he created the Freedmen's Bank. And in 1864, and within 10 years, those newly freed slaves amassed nearly $60 million in those days' terms. They built hospitals, they built schools, they built communities, they built all sorts of things. Frederick Douglass had $12,000 in the Freedmen's Bank, which would have made him, a millionaire in those terms. So, due to a lot of corruption, the deposits made into the Freedmen's Bank were actually stolen from those slaves. Well, they were no longer slaves, were stolen, and the government used it to build the Treasury Annex building. That money would have been over $7 trillion in the black community today. Look at things like the Great Migration, where at the turn of the century you had over 5 million blacks migrate north, walking away from land, largely due to the fear of lynching, walking away from land values in the South that would have been worth tons, that are worth a lot of money today. You had redlining, where the Federal Housing Authority actually made it illegal for blacks or whites who live near blacks to buy homes. Real estate is the greatest way to pass on generational wealth. You had the Poor People's Campaign, where Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was about to take on economic rights. You had predatory lending. Despite all of that history, black households in the United States earning $75,000 or more, or $200,000 or more, are the fastest growing income group in the United States. Black wealth is expanding, faster than other groups. Because of the emotional, psychological, and financial scars those other events have left behind, we haven't really stepped into the mindset to, created the mindset to step into that wealth. Black buying power over $1 trillion. We have a lot of economic power. It's just how we think about it, how we feel about it, and what we do with it isn't needs to evolve more for us to really claim it. But when you consider it's just happened, just like this is like 3 and 4 generations ago, the story of Black wealth is incredible. And again, these are much stronger forces than, thinking, labels, all this other stuff. That's just nothing but resilience. And I would challenge any group to create the wealth that the Black community has created in just a few generations.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Let's talk about stocks. Now, I have people in my network that are in the stock market. Then I have people in my network where they make a lot of money in real estate, but they're thinking about investing in the stocks, whether it's Nike stock or Adidas stock or T-Mobile stock or AT&T stock or Wendy stock in regards to investing in a franchise. Can you break down layman's terms about the power of being an investor in regards to investing in the stock market? And can you break down layman's terms on how you can actually create a phenomenal account, whether it's through Acorn or Ameritrade, and what is the benefits and what would be the deficits of investing in stocks in regards to these major companies?
I don't think there are any deficits in investing in stocks. I mean, the U.S. stock market's annual average return has been about 9% since its inception. And there's been ups and downs, but people have to realize that it's something that it's a long-term investment. And now technology has made it accessible to everybody with apps like Acorns, Stash. Acorns is one of my favorites because you actually get into the stock market using your spare change. Like when you make a purchase with a debit card, say for $4.51, the app will round up to the next dollar, and invest that 49 cents into a portfolio of stocks. That's possible because of exchange-traded funds, which are,
ETFs.
ETFs are tied to an index. For example, there's the S&P 500 index ETF. So that has a little piece of all of the stocks in the S&P 500, and that, but it acts like a single stock. So it's not like a mutual fund where you have to have a certain minimum amount to be able to buy into it. And, people can get into these ETFs for nothing. That is the way I would recommend investing. That's the way I invest. Individual stock picking, to me, it's for professionals. So it's not something I recommend to anybody who's not a professional investor. When you can have the most important things that you need to invest in stuff, the diversification that you get with an ETF. It's just a basket of stocks in a particular index with a particular goal, and just about anybody can get into it. And even companies like TD Ameritrade will let you, you can open an account for $50 and they'll give you can choose from different ETFs. They have automatic deposits put into these accounts, build the account. It's just a great way to invest in the markets. And if you look at the investing patterns of the ultra rich, they have much more of their wealth in stocks, whereas upper middle class and middle class tend to have more of their wealth in real estate. And I think that's just a lack of financial knowledge, because investing in real estate is it's not for everybody. If you're literally investing in a home, there's maintenance, there's markets. So what happens to a lot of people, for example, when that home is passed on to their heirs, you get this home, and it takes time to sell a home. The market might be at a different point than what you need. But I think stocks are a much easier investment. And I think a lot of people there's some conditioning out there that investing in stocks is for the wealthy, but that's just simply not true. And now technology's made it accessible for everybody.
Wow. Well, I know Warren Buffett and his business partner, Charlie Munger, they invest in stock and they invest in profitable businesses that have strong cash flows. And he recommended a book called The Intelligent Investor, where the author basically was a successful stockbroker. And a lot of people basically want to follow Warren Buffett's footsteps in regards to investing in stocks. But like you said, you had to be educated about that arena, and you had to know what's the difference between investing in a good stock versus a bad stock, or even if you invest in a bad stock, it's not basically a bad stock at all.
Well, actually, as we're speaking, looking at the name, you can get an app that will let you invest in, an ETF that mimics what Warren Buffett invests in, if that's what you want. If he's the one that you would pick. But what I'm talking about is individual, stock picking. Like, I'm going to buy this company, what have you. First of all, there's a lot to evaluate: price to earnings ratio, all sorts of different things. A good thumb of rule with stock when you're looking at stock is to invest in things you use. Like, look, what's your kid using that's popular with all the kids? Those are companies, that type of thing. But again, technology, you can invest in. You can get an app that allows you to invest in companies that Warren Buffett invests in.
Wow. Stacey, let's talk about delegation. Now, I know the minimum wage of a millionaire is around $524 an hour. So I always tell my listeners, what can you delegate for $524 an hour? Or you can go way beyond that. What can you delegate that's within your current budget? How important it is for entrepreneurs and business leaders to delegate tasks out that they're not currently good at, so they could just focus on increasing their revenues in their businesses?
Yeah, it's very important for entrepreneurs to know how to delegate and to know what's important to them. The first thing entrepreneurs have to do. There's a great article in Inc.com about the psychological challenges of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs have extremely high stress and anxiety level because they're trying to wear so many different hats. So it's very important to, know your strengths before you even set out on a business. Identify things like how much of your own money you're willing to invest. What resources do you have with regard to people? To know that you can't do everything. To have things in place to manage your to manage the stress that comes with entrepreneurship, so that you can grow. Because those are really the hard parts, because, entrepreneurs tend to be risk takers. They want to try to do everything, but again, put that just through a logic test. And, then you're going to find yourself, not doing anything well. So getting a clear vision on what it is that you want to do, who you need to help you to do that, that's really very, very important in entrepreneurship. That's critical in entrepreneurship. And not trying to do everything at once.
Wow. Stacey, you are an intelligent woman.
I'll remind my 13-year-old of that.
Stacey, let's talk about the power of using video. Now, I know a couple of years back, Google bought YouTube for $1.6 billion, so video is hot right now. Can you explain to the audience the power of using video? And should entrepreneurs and business leaders use video to expand their brand?
Well, I've always been a broadcast TV journalist, and it's true, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And, video tells a story in a way that print doesn't. Even long-form written journalism is also a big part of my background. But it's not even so much any of that. It's just a video that's how people are consuming information now. Social media, the attention spans are much shorter. And, it's just a matter of that. short, in terms of sharing information, short, discernible videos. That's just how people are consuming information. So it's something every entrepreneur should consider. And now it's, we have iPhones. The cost of video production is plummeting. It's very expensive, but it's plummeting compared to what it used to be because it's so prevalent right now. But it's just where the industry is.
So once people like you, respect you, and trust you, that's when their minds are made up and they want to invest in you because you are your brand?
People can, they smell someone who knows what they're doing, and they smell people who don't know what they're doing. And it's more, I think the dangers come when you don't match your brand, when you don't match your message. And I think that's what entrepreneurs have to make sure that they do.
Wow. Stacey, let's talk about marketing. Can you explain to the listeners what is your definition of marketing and what does marketing mean to you?
Identifying who it is that you're trying to reach, identifying how you can add value to them, and communicating it in a way that's very well received. It's very digestible.
Wow. So would you say that marketing done right is the quickest path to the sale?
Well, it's also being able to deliver. You can't focus so much on marketing that you're not thinking about who you're delivering your product to. If you have, you have to figure out what do you need to make? Who are you going to make that from? How you're going to reach them, and the better you are at what you do, and there's great marketing help out there, like with Google Small Business. That's just a great platform to help people with marketing. But you have to be ready to deliver, and you have to know who you're marketing to.
Wow. You say you have to know who you're marketing to. So sales is the avenue to more revenue?
Well, obviously, if you sell more products, you're going to make more money, but you have to identify who your buyer is and how to reach them.
Wow. Stacey, I wrote down some powerful words, 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, so you can rate them in your own powerful way. Are you ready?
Sure.
Accountability.
5.
Perseverance.
5.
Leverage.
5.
Income producing assets.
6.
Building great relationships.
10.
Family.
Infinity.
Love.
We're not separate from it. It's part of us.
Health.
Nothing else works without it.
Wealth.
We each have our own definition of it.
Brainstorming groups.
Definitely a 5.
Value.
It's a relative. It depends on how you're defining it.
Performance.
Vital.
Success.
An illusion. It all depends on how you're defining it.
All right, that was good. That was really good, Stacey. Stacey, can you explain to the audience, what do you like to do for fun?
I find fun in everything that I do. I spend a lot of time with my 13-year-old son. I spend a lot of time with my family and friends. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of meditating. I spend a lot of time outdoors. I love talking to people. It's again, you can find fun in anything.
Now, you wrote a phenomenal book called The True Cost of Happiness. Can you explain to the audience what inspired you to write that phenomenal book, The True Cost of Happiness, and do you receive a lot of royalties from your book?
Well, again, my book was just the result of a research project. So to me, it's an act of journalism because I was so curious about what's really driving financial behavior. And as far as what I've received from my book, it was that book that really moved me into the forefront of being of financial behavior and of the shift that we're seeing in the financial industry, where there's an acknowledgement that there's more to money than dollars and cents, and that financial professionals have to be trained to implement what I've learned, what I've seen, and what I wanted to share to people, and that's just an ongoing process.
Stacey, can you explain to the audience what was the most important day of your life when you experienced financial freedom?
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
So I don't know if you'd say there's one most important day. I would say, for me, what's been very freeing is realizing that life happens, and no matter what your financial circumstances, it doesn't define you.
Stacey, I love surrounding myself around like-minded individuals, and I basically say that money is simply energy, and you are who you hang around. And I love connecting myself with brainstorming groups where we are actually elevating one another because of strength in numbers. Can you explain to the audience how important it is for entrepreneurs and business owners to develop their own brainstorming groups?
I think, I read Bill Gates once said that when you have an idea, the most important, when you want to start a business, the most important thing is to figure out who you want to do the business with. Step one. So, we all benefit from each other's energy, and we work much better collaboratively. We can inspire each other. We can bounce off of each other. We can reflect off of each other, and that's, I just think we help each other rise. And it's not so much how important is it. I think it's natural. People naturally gravitate to other people, and that's what I'm saying. We're built with this stuff. We're built with that kind of magnifier in us. So it's very important.
They say that one man is not an island by itself, and no one woman is an island by herself. And I love formulating partnerships and doing a collaboration economy because you can do a whole lot with a lot of like-minded individuals instead of doing things on your own. Stacey, can you explain to the audience exactly where they can find you?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter at STisdale1. That's at STISDALE1. Instagram, Stacey Tisdale 1120. And Facebook, I'm Stacey Tisdale Money, and that's with my company Mind Money Media. So Stacey Tisdale Money on Facebook or in my website, mindmoneymedia.com.
Now, your powerful brand, and I know you're the CEO and the president of Mind Money Media. Can you explain to the audience what got into your mindset to create your powerful company, which is called Mind Money Media, and what does your brand, Mind Money Media, stand for?
Well, again, I'm in behavioral finance, so it's getting people to acknowledge that there's more to money than helping people navigate the psychological aspects of money. So that the title, the kind of came naturally. And, I create content for individuals, for organizations, and I run media work that helps people manage that psychological and emotional aspect of money. So that's just kind of where my journey has led me, and that's where my work has gone.
Wow. Stacey, I love reading, and unfortunately for some people, reading is a lost art today. Can you explain to the audience what books does Stacey like to read, and what books do you recommend for the listeners to read?
I personally read a lot of books about just behavioral finance. I love The Power of Habit is one of my favorite books. I love spiritual books. I read a lot of books by Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, and just I spend a lot of time doing stuff that helps you, manage our minds. Because again, if we don't learn how to not identify with all of the thoughts and things, all of the stuff that can knock us off path, and remember that there's so much more to us, then that's where we, I think, need support. So you'll always find me listening to, some book or reading some book that, kind of helps me to remember, because it's very difficult because we have all sorts of messages and conditioning coming at us to do otherwise.
Well, I love feeding my mind with the right information, and I like to call it mind feed. You got to keep feeding that mind, And I thank God that He created through people these delivery systems, through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all these social media platforms, and basically email marketing or direct response marketing, because all those are delivery systems in regards to consuming content. And when I'm driving, I let my driving time become my learning time.
Yeah, definitely. I love audiobooks.
Stacey, what mistakes are you experiencing from entrepreneurs and business owners that are in the financial education industry?
Well, first of all, looking at anything like a mistake. There's no such thing, really. You have to look at everything as a learning opportunity. And managing, the stress around entrepreneurship is really something that people have to, I think, learn a lot more about, managing the stress and anxiety that comes with it. Because when we're experiencing stress, when we're experiencing things like debt, and not knowing how to navigate the emotions around that, it impacts our decision-making ability. And those are the important things that we have to do.
Stacey, how can entrepreneurs and active investors get out of their comfort zones? Because I know some people, comfort zones are actually their failure zones.
I mean, I'm hearing just a lot of labels like comfort zone, discomfort zone. I think it's just, dropping all that. Some things are going to make you feel, things just being present. Things are going to make you feel how they feel, and just not letting that define you.
Stacey, I'd like to thank you once again for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about financial education and about your phenomenal book, The True Cost of Happiness. I gladly appreciate it. You are a gift from God.
You too, Arthur. I really appreciate your time.
Stacey, before we sign off, can you explain to the listeners one more time exactly where they can find you?
Sure. You can I post a lot of my information on Twitter. That's at stisdale1. And you can also go to mindsmoneymedia.com. And I'm Stacey Tisdale Money on Facebook and Stacey Tisdale 1120 on Instagram.
Stacey, I got to get you back on the show one more time so we can educate the masses about more in-depth financial education.
Thank you so much, Arthur. I really appreciate it. I'd be happy to come back.
Well, Stacey, I appreciate you. To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend get involved with the phenomenal Stacey Tisdale. You had the passion that came through her voice on my show today. She broke down layman's terms about financial education. She broke down layman's terms about what inspired her to write her phenomenal book, which is called The True Cost of Happiness. And she also broke down layman's terms about what inspired her to create her phenomenal outside-the-box company, which is called Mind Money Media Incorporated. And she also broke down layman's terms about you have to be educated about money scripts and about financial choices when it comes to you building a phenomenal relationship with your own money. And she also broke down layman's terms about how to invest in the stock market and how you can get involved with stock pickings. I highly recommend go to her website, go to her phenomenal outside-the-box website, which is called mindmoneymedia.com, and connect with Stacey Tisdale on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. She has incredible content that can take your mindset and your business to a whole nother level. So to everyone that's listening, remember that the strongest asset that each and every one of you have is your brain, and what you think about and what you take action on that will become your reality, and your mentality creates your reality. May God bless each and every one of you, and bye for now. Thank you, Stacey. Here's another bonus tip. I hope this exclusive, powerful interview helped you fully understand on how you can build a phenomenal relationship when it comes to your money. My great friend, successful businesswoman, an international speaker, she is a financial journalist. Her name is Stacey Tisdale. Stacey Tisdale is a financial journalist, and she is the founder of her phenomenal brand, which is called Mind Money Media Incorporated. Stacey is a contributor to other media platforms like Good Morning America, The Wendy Williams Show, and she has been on The Breakfast Club several times. And she also has been a contributor to The Oprah Winfrey Show. Stacey is the best-selling author of her phenomenal book, which is called The True Cost of Happiness. In this interview, you're going to hear exclusively how Stacey Tisdale, she breaks down layman's terms about you must focus on the money scripts that is going on inside of your own mind. Also in this interview, Stacey Tisdale, she breaks down layman's terms about women have to understand their own true power when it comes to them accumulating their own money. Also in this interview, Stacey Tisdale, she breaks down layman's terms about money is a gift and money is a tool, and you have to really focus on money is a mirror. Also in this interview, Stacey Tisdale, she breaks down layman's terms about you are going to do what you believe, and what is your relationship when it comes to you accumulating your own money, and much, much more. If you want to learn more about business, marketing, advertising, copywriting, investing in gold and silver, investing in real estate, investing in stocks, or how to build your business, or how to scale your business, or how to accumulate massive wealth, you can contact me directly at 215-490-2516. That's 215-490-2516. Or you can email me at arthur@powerfulinterviews.com. That's Arthur, ARTHUR, at Powerful Interviews, POWERINTERVIEWS